Hello, Cheapar here, and today we're going to be looking at the PS1, PS2 wireless controller adapter from Intec Gaming. So this adapter allows you to play PS1, PS2 games wirelessly. Now there are a number of options available on the market in terms of wireless gaming, especially that have come out in the past year or so. But in this specific example, what I have done is I've also bought another product, the Intec Gaming Arcade Deck, that you can find on Amazon, as is this one you can find on Amazon as well. But the Intec Gaming Arcade Deck, this is a wireless arcade deck that through adapters like this one, you can pretty much plug into anything and it'll work like an arcade. And the dimensions of this arcade deck are meant to fit Generation 1 Arcade1Up setups in terms of the releases. So in this case, I have it hooked up. It fits perfectly in terms of dimensions. You just take out the old arcade deck that the Arcade1Up came with and just replace it with this one, just with 4 screws. And so I put this arcade deck in here. I have it set up on this Arcade1Up shell, and it's running on the PS2 right now. So it is connected, already synced up. All you have to do is press the sync button on the PS2 adapter and then press the sync button on your wireless controller. In this case, it's the Intec Gaming arcade deck, and you're good to go. This is plugged into your controller port onto your PS1 or PS2. Now, there's positives and negatives to this. You don't have to rely on emulation. So you can have the original PS1 and PS2 hardware and have it sync up wirelessly to a controller, and you don't have to worry about having wired controllers anymore. Now, in terms of the negative, is that 99.9% of the games for PS1 use the D-pad, but as with PS2, that's the opposite. The D-pad was not used so much for specifically movement. It's meant for more different functions, but movement is typically set to the analog stick for PS2 games. How does that come into play? So while this is great if you're using your original PS1 hardware and you want to set it up like an arcade machine, but for the PS2, this is mapped also to your motion, to your movement, to the D-pad. So if the game is using analog sticks for movement, it is deactivated because this is only recognizing the D-pad. It does not recognize a left analog stick. And of course, you're also limited to these buttons only. And the feel is going to be a lot different if you've got a PS2 game that has a specific feel to how the shoulder buttons and everything work. So what is this really meant for if you're going to buy an Intec Gaming arcade deck? It's really meant for those games that are beat 'em ups, that are very simplistic, and especially for PS2, you're going to be limited just to those fighting games. So what I have right now is that I've got Virtua Fighter 4 on PS2 playing through the arcade deck from Intec Gaming. So I'm just going to show you in a moment what the gameplay looks like. I do specifically like this game because this version of the game, which they released, they had 2 initial releases. The re-release had like an anniversary kind of option on it that allowed you to play Virtua Fighter, the original release, kind of remastered, so to speak, with newer kind of character models and newer characters that are included on there. So it's not necessarily a re-release. It's not even a remaster. It's just kind of I don't know, almost like a remake, but using the graphical nuances of the original Virtua Fighter. So I'm going to show you that in a moment, and we'll go ahead and get started. I did want to show you one other thing, is that while you are limited to just basic fighters on the PS2 with this arcade deck, I mean, it works great if you want to play Mortal Kombat Armageddon, if you want to play Mortal Kombat Deception. You can play that in this arcade setup, and it works great. Now, unfortunately, because... Oh, that's the wrong game. Shaolin Monks uses the analog stick for movement. It doesn't use the D-pad, so you cannot play that game in this arcade style. So that's a bummer. This wireless adapter, if you're going to buy this arcade deck, it does come with these little button stickers, so that once you understand how it's mapping the controls, you can put these stickers onto these buttons they're just white buttons, so you can understand which button is which when you're playing your games. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on Virtua Fighter on this arcade setup. Okay guys, so we've got Virtua Fighter 4 up and running, and included as a kind of a special inclusion on this edition of Virtua Fighter 4 is Virtua Fighter 10th Anniversary. This is not a remaster of Virtua Fighter as it appeared in the arcade. This is kind of like a remake that includes the graphical style of the original Virtua Fighter stages and most of the music, but it also includes new characters. So for those loyalists, they might be irritated by some of the changes or some of the lack of inclusions. As you can see here, new characters on Virtua Fighter that were not in the original arcade version. The character select screen looks different, but the graphics are very similar to the original arcade. If you select a character, you're not going to get that same type of motion that the characters made on the character select screen. So there's going to be differences, but the music is there, the graphical style is there, and it's still a lot of fun. It plays so much like the original arcade, just in higher quality graphics. Now, and it's a rarity to kind of get Virtua Fighter in any capacity. You had it on 32X, you have it on the Astro City Mini, though even then that Astro City Mini has some type of issues with the frame rate. So there's not too many ways to get Virtua Fighter outside of emulation, and to be able to play it in this arcade style without having to rely on emulation, this is a great way to play it. So playing it on the arcade Intec Gaming Arcade Deck along with the PS2 adapter, using the PS2 and using a PS2 disc, it's a great way to kind of experience this game. I hope you guys like this video. Please like and subscribe, and I will put links in the descriptions to how to find the Intec Gaming Arcade Deck and the PS1, PS2 adapter, also from Intec Gaming. All right, guys, that's it for me. Please like and subscribe. Talk to you guys next time. Bye.